So you were known as like one of the biggest, best, baddest refs, right? I mean, you were like, "Arr, arr, arr, arr," right? So give me a little bit of that. Like if you're like,
Well, actually, I was a little junkyard dog, and in my very first season in the NHL, and I was a player before that. I played to the junior A level in Canada, where the NHL drafts their players from. I was a good little player. I played tough. I hated bullies. My dad was a former minor professional player. He was a goon, as you would say, but he was also a boxer. And I played 3 years of AAA midget for him. We had 5 players go off our team and play in the NHL. Wayne Merrick with the New York Islanders, my line mate, won 4 Stanley Cups with the New York Islanders back then. And yet I was the guy that Dad taught how to box in our kitchen when I was 12 years old. And so in spite of the big guys we had on our teams, when he needed things to be taken care of, I got the tap on the shoulder and out I went. It served me well as a player to play as a little guy in a big man's game. I wasn't intimidated. I was an aggressive individual, type A for sure. And so when I wasn't drafted at my final year of junior, and I had a bunch of U.S. scholarship offers, D1 schools to go play, I was thinking of maybe playing in the minor professional leagues, perhaps the American League or the International League at the time. And a former player, teammate with my dad, who was coaching, ended up coaching the Detroit Red Wings, Ted Garvin, said to me, "Kerry, why don't you get into officiating?" He said, "We need guys that understand the game. They understand the frustrations that the players feel and the rules and good skaters and such." And so he handed me a brochure to a referee school. And I think at the right time, it was 1972, the World Hockey was just forming, and there was opportunities for players and officials at all levels of the game. And so I went to that referee school. It was 5 days. I paid $250. And I was scouted at it by the NHL. 2 days later, I was brought to the NHL training camp for officials. They assigned me to games in the American Hockey League as a linesman. I did 50 games, traveled around on the airplanes, and guys that I'd played against the year before that were high draft picks were playing in that league. And we started in our careers in different paths to get to that highest level. I moved up very quickly. I had an aptitude for it. But that badass guy you're talking about, I learned in a confrontation with Wayne Gretzky in my first season in the NHL. It was Wayne's second, and I had to recognize something about myself that was going to cause me to fail. Okay. And it was the little man syndrome, the chip on the shoulder. The thing that served me well as a player was going to cause me to fail as an official, because in that very first game in the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, first shift, Wayne took a dive on me. I took it personally. The crowd got on me. And there you have the boiling point. You have this little man, this little guy that is not ever intimidated, and he's not going to put up with any nonsense. And that player who tried to draw the wrath upon him and intimidate him, we were going to lock horns. And throughout that entire game, every time Wayne was fouled, I didn't call a penalty. I called the other penalties, but not on Wayne, because I was going to teach him a lesson. And so the Philadelphia Flyers, Bobby Clarke, the Broad Street Bullies were playing in that game, and with a minute left and change, the Flyers were winning by 1 goal. And the best opportunity for that young Oiler team with Gretz and Messier and Coffey and Yuri Curry and you name it, all those future Hall of Famers,
them are here tonight, actually, right?
Yeah. Well, a power play would be their best option. So the goalie for the Flyers, Pelle Lindbergh, God rest his soul, caught the puck. I stopped play, and behind the net, Wayne, where he stood in his office, they called it, jumped in the air, threw his hands out one way, feet out the other way, boom, belly flop on the ice. Bobby Clarke skated over to him, no teeth. He said, "Get up, Gretzky, you blank baby." I went over, I said, "Wayne, what are you doing?" I said, "There was nobody around you within 15 feet. He said, "You wouldn't have called it anyway. You haven't called a blank thing all night." I said, "You're right. I'm going to start right now." Boom, you got 2 for unsportsmanlike conduct. Now that little man syndrome, it came up, it boiled through the core of me, and boom, out it came. And Wayne said, "Thank you. It's about blank time you called something." One of 2 players that ever thanked me for giving them a penalty. And he stormed off the ice, didn't even go to the penalty box, went to the dressing room. Now, I am a perfectionist in an imperfect kind of work environment. There's never been a perfectly refereed hockey game, but that's what I would always strive for. I wanted to be the best I could be. I replayed every game after and I have a memory like a steel trap, almost VCR-like, and I would replay the games and I would determine, is there something I could have done better? Well, in this particular game, it hit me like a board between the eyes. I compromised my integrity, the rules that I was supposed to uphold, my employer, the National Hockey League, and the game that I loved, and I was being unfair to that game. So I quickly recognized that stuff inside me that I was through childhood, through my environment, through my dad, through the playing of the sports that I played in the schoolyard, you name it. We all acquire those sorts of things. Some are positive, some are negative. I had to control this impulse, this little man syndrome, chip on the shoulder, that would reflex. It would surface when I was put under pressure or stress, and rather than flight, I was the fight guy. And I quickly recognized this is going to cause me to fail. The next time I saw Wayne Gretzky, I apologized for my conduct. I said, it is not acceptable, but I asked him, please do us both a favor. If you're fouled, the call will go up. The arm will be raised, but please don't dive on me. I take it personally. We developed a great working relationship, and I started making those kinds of relationships with players. They will tell you, I think most of them, that I was firm, but I was fair. And that's the best that I could ever hope to be recognized for as a referee. Honest, integrity, firm. When I tell you something, if I give you a break, you better not do it again, because you're going to sit.
And today, really, on the course, nobody was sitting. Everybody had a lot of fun because we're trying to raise funds for the Peconic Hockey Foundation. And I hear them announcing the winners. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be somebody. Are you excited?
Well, I know it's not me, but nonetheless, I'm excited for whoever's going to win. You know, it's what we can give back. And when I came here last night, and Mark Messier and I got together, and we chatted, and we traded stories, and it's a reunion. And we can be in different factions of the game, and even ex-teammates or competitors. When hockey people get together, it's like a reunion. We all share a common love for a game, and now we also share a love for giving back and creating situations that are good. The young Peconic ice hockey players that had a ball hockey game out in the parking lot, and I was able to referee it, and but there was a lesson. I would stop the game at certain points, and I'd say, okay, take a break. We're going to have a little break. Zamboni, come out, clean the parking lot. And I would tell them a story. I'd tell them a story about a life experience that I had on the ice, of how to deal with players, or how players might have been trash-talking an opponent that wasn't acceptable. And so there were lessons that we could, in the fun of the game, that we could impart, I could impart, Mark Messier and David Booth and the other guys, former NHL players that played with these kids that they look up to. You want to give them the right message, and you want them to really pull something from you that they're going to carry, some sort of memory that happened today, and we want to give them a good message.
I love that. No trash talking, and we're all sometimes victims of doing that. Something doesn't go away in business, and then we're throwing somebody else under the bus and blah blah blah. But so we learned a life lesson here today. Thank you. And I know that you've had like a really interesting journey with your health and all kinds of things, but I hope you'll come back. We can talk about that another time.
Come back anytime.
Oh, thank you so much. There you go. We've been living it up right here. Stay tuned. We hope you enjoyed our visit here at Sabonic.